وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK Radio 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Join me on the third Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be discussing some of the most important current political, economic, and social issues in my program, The Bridge. On Radio Baladi, on America's Voice of the Arabs, WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis. Welcome to another great show on Radio Baladi on US Arab Radio. Today, we're talking about the Soliya Connect Program, building bridges through connecting cultures. And my guest this morning is Ahmed, the director of the Connect Program at Soliya, an international nonprofit that combines the power of interactive technology and the science of dialogue to offer proven cross-cultural exchange and learning experience. In this role, Nahid is responsible for the oversight and implementation of the Connect Program, Soliya's flagship virtual exchange initiative, and all its activities. Nahid has over a decade of professional experience in the areas of conflict resolution, facilitation, project management, and program development. She was born in Bangladesh, grew up in Oman, and lived in the UAE, India, and the United States. Welcome to the show, Nahid.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I must start by telling our listeners that I personally had a wonderful experience with the Soliya International Connect Program that we're about to talk about today for over 15 years. That's right, you heard me correctly, 15 years. I worked with it in Qatar University for 3 years and almost 13 years now at the University of Maryland. But I want to give our guest, Nahid Ahmed, a chance to give you guys an opportunity to actually learn about what is the Soliya program and what is the Soliya Connect program in particular. So Nahid, can you please give our listeners an idea?
Absolutely. So it's funny, we've been in operation for about 17 years. This is our 17th year. So you've been with us for most of our journey. Soliya was founded by, I know. Soliya was founded by two social entrepreneurs coming from the field of media and conflict resolution. And that really informs, how we happen to come into existence and the role of the Connect program. We offer a variety of programs, all of it geared towards preparing rising generations to approach differences in a constructive way and lead with empathy, in order to thrive in this interconnected world. So that's essentially what we do.
Right. I just wanted you also to give our listeners an idea about the nature of the Soliya Connect program in particular, like how it works, how it connects young people, the role of technology and virtual exchange in this process. I think that this is very compelling.
Absolutely. So the Connect program is a dialogue program, and it seeks to engage young people in meaningful, sustained cross-cultural dialogue and exchange with their peers around the world. During the Connect program, young people will discuss issues of importance to them at the national and international level. And what we seek to do is sort of broaden their horizons, enable them to develop critical skills, in empathy, critical thinking, cross-cultural communication, collaborative problem-solving, leadership, those kinds of skills. And we do it by sort of engaging them constructively to meet with their peers around the world and have these important discussions. As you know, you play a very important role, you as a professor, an academic, because we work with university students across the world. And that's a really important part of the Connect program, in order to, work with young adults at a formative age, and enable them to sort of profoundly shift the way they deal with difference.
I really want to focus on this aspect of youth, young people. We always talk today about, bias, prejudices, stereotypes, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, hatred, all of these, diseases that we are talking about day in and day out. But I always tell my students, all of that does not start at the age of 60 or 65, A lot of that stuff starts from a very, very young age, which is why I want to stress this point about young people. You said something about, engagement in their formative years. I believe that this is a very strong statement, Nahid. If you can tell our listeners why it's so important, especially for youth, to be engaged in this type of, I would say, virtually mediated conflict resolution program at a young age. What is the value here, and what have you seen to be the most important, really, fruits or outcomes?
Absolutely. And, as you were saying, it's so important. Young people, these are not skills that are developed. These are prejudices, biases, whether they're racial or intercultural, whatever it is. These are not developed at an older age. These are learned behaviors. And so what we want to do is we want to engage young people at a point where they're sort of looking at the world and trying to find their space in the world, and trying to find their place and understand the world around them. Engage them around working with people who are very different from them. We find a lot of the students that we work with, either they've never been outside the city, the country, or the community that they're from. And we believe that exposure is the very first sort of, building block. Exposure to different cultures, different ideas and perspectives. And then through facilitated dialogue and the constructive program model, learning how to engage with those differences in a way that's meaningful, in a way that is honest and true. And through that, they're able to learn. So no part of the Connect program really seeks to teach them any one perspective. And that's not what the program is about. It's very much about understanding your own biases, where you're coming from, and then learning to understand other perspectives.
Absolutely. And I love your point about exposure, because, there is proven research evidence, scientific evidence that shows that people, for example, who never ever met a single Muslim in their whole life are most likely to be Islamophobic. People who never met a Jewish person, most likely to be anti-Semitic, and so on and so forth. The list can go on and on. Exposure is the very first step to understanding. And I think what Soliya program does through these virtual exchange sessions, every week you meet people through internet conversations for 2 hours. You get an opportunity to, I tell to my students, travel the world without leaving your own office or your own room or your own place. Correct?
Absolutely. So, what we're talking about, and this is something we test in the program as well, we make sure to assess the impact of the program. We're talking about contact theory, that, if you have sustained, again, contact with other people around the world, you're less likely to be prejudiced against them. And one of the things we really believe in that you just touched upon is the importance of that sustained dialogue. So the majority of the Connect program modules, they run over 8 weeks. Students will meet the same group of their international peers each week of the program for 2 hours of dialogue. And it's very different. The feel is very intimate, even though it is done virtually. The feel is very intimate. It's very much like sitting around a coffee table with people that become friends. And that's something we hear a lot from our alumni, that they really came to see the people that they worked with as friends, as peers who they want to stay in touch with. And it's very much about giving them that space over the course of a semester. So they're in their own comfort zone, because so many young people don't have the means and opportunities to travel to, say, 8 or 9 countries over the course of their undergraduate experience. Whereas in the Connect program, they, over the course of that semester, are, exposed again to young people from 8 or 10 different countries within their group.
Absolutely. So like touring the world or traveling the world without even leaving your own place or your own space, as I always tell my students. Nahid, before we go further about the Connect program and its value and its functions and what it does for our youth, I see that you are also a very multicultural person yourself. You were born in Bangladesh, you grew up in Oman, you lived in United Arab Emirates, in India, and now you're living in the United States. I want you to give our listeners an idea about your own journey. How did you get to this point in your own career and your own life? And how did your own multicultural, diverse background influence your own experience now in this role?
I think it's so funny. So much of my journey over the past decade has been very tied to the Connect program. But, just to begin at the beginning, I was born in Bangladesh. My parents were expats who lived in Oman. And so that's where I grew up. And then for a few years in India, and then for the past 17 years in the US. I really got to experience and live in cultures very different from my own, a very immersive experience. I wasn't visiting. I was living there for at least 5 or 7 years at a time. And I feel like I'm very much a product of the mix of those cultures that I experienced growing up. And I don't feel like, that I belong to any one of those cultures. And then I came to the United States for college, as many, I think, young people do. And I studied political science and economics, and I had a very sort of defined future. I thought I was going to go into the field of economics and world trade and do that kind of thing. And then I just discovered Soliya and the Connect program very much by accident. I signed up, I interviewed for an internship, and that's sort of how I came to this organization. And I felt an immediate kinship with the ethos and values of the team. I felt it very much spoke to, my people and that mixed identity that I felt I had, and that it offered young people to have this experience that I've had. And I felt that sort of set me apart. And sometimes I felt quite different because a lot of my peers in college, they hadn't, had to live in so many different places and not belong to any one place. And so I felt really at home in the Connect program.
This is fantastic. And I'm sure this feeling of being at home has influenced your own work with the Soliya Connect program in so many positive ways over the years. Excellent. We'll come back to this wonderful discussion right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, please.
مؤسسة رحمة الإغاثية حول العالم تقدم خدماتها الإنسانية في عدة دول في اليمن، سوريا، الأردن، لبنان ومناطق أخرى في أفريقيا وحول العالم. مؤسسة رحمة حول العالم الإغاثية تدعم اللاجئين في المخيمات بتوفير السلات الغذائية، الإمدادات الطبية، الرعاية النفسية إلى جانب الخدمات التعليمية ورعاية الأيتام والمطابخ الخيرية. جميع تبرعاتكم معفاة من الضرائب وتساهم في حياة أفضل للمحتاجين. للتواصل مع مؤسسة رحمة حول العالم يرجى الاتصال على الرقم 248-990-4247. That's 248-990-4247. أو بإمكانكم زيارة الموقع الإلكتروني على rahmarelief.org.
إلي ساعة عم بستناك مشان نروح نتغدى بالشام.
الشام؟
إيه بالشام ومو بالشام.
شلون صارت هي؟
بدل ما نروح نتغدى بالشام
إيه
جابوا لنا الأكلات الشامية الطيبة لعنا لكم.
وشلون بقى؟
هذا مطعم دماس عم يعمل كل الأكلات الشامية الطيبة هو.
طيبة؟
طيبة كتير.
شرفوا نتغدى سوا بمطعم دماس.
الأكل الشامي الأصيل فقط بدماس كوزين. زوروهم على 28841 أرشد لك بفارمينغتون هيلز، ولطلباتكم اتصلوا على 248-987-4609. That's 248-987-4609. دماس كوزين and catering، جبنا لكم الشام لعندكم.
Life is a non-profit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552, and the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Join me on the third Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be discussing some of the most important current political, economic, and social issues in my program, The Bridge. On Radio Baladi, on America's Voice of the Arabs, WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis, and we're talking today about the Soliya Connect Program, Building Bridges Through Connecting Cultures. And my guest is Ahmed, Director of the Soliya Connect Program. Nahed, we're talking about the Soliya Connect Program, and you mentioned something very important. You said that those who founded the program in the first place had background in two important areas, in virtual exchange and technology and in conflict resolution. And I found this to be very interesting and very compelling. You know, when we talk about these two fields, right, bringing together conflict resolution and bringing together something like technology, this kind of merge between both of them, how can they both feed into each other, and what is the value of this interaction between them?
Well, I mean, you know, it's two things, right? Technology is a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for not good. And we started in 2003, and we look 17 years on, we have these interactive technologies that offer connectivity. They offer, you know, so much information and so much activity and opportunities. But these technologies by themselves do not generate connections. And so much of our work is using that technology to engage people in a constructive way, and that will enable them to thrive in that modern society. When we started the Connect program in 2003, there wasn't a lot of these things that we have now. You know, there's no Instagram, there's no WhatsApp, there's Facebook was in its very early stages, and there was this ability to connect with people, but not in a way that's meaningful and not in a way that's sort of sustained and allowing people to really engage with the other. Whereas, so our work was very much, particularly from the conflict resolution field, using the science of conflict resolution and seeing, you know, these are the ways you can create positive connections. And then using the technology, you know, our platform, we have developed our platform, it's customized, custom-built platform, that back in 2003 just really didn't exist. Now we have such a proliferation of video conferencing technologies. This didn't exist then. And so we developed a platform and we developed this methodology that we felt would harness the power of, you know, all this expansive technology. And I think that's where we sort of found our space.
You know, when you said 17 years ago, and I started with you guys more than 15 years ago, I feel like I'm a Soliya pioneer. Like
you are. You absolutely are.
And I also have this moment of nostalgia now. I'm now thinking about my own experience with the very first group of Soliya students at the University of Qatar when I was working there in the Department of Communication, and how the students were so excited about the opportunity to participate. And of course, at that time, like you just mentioned now, technology was not as, you know, very advanced and prevalent as it is today. So I'm thinking, I always tell my students about, you know, social media or technology being a double-edged sword. Like you said, it's a tool. It depends on what you are using it for. How did this information revolution, technology and you know, social media and all of that stuff, how did it influence the development and the growth of the Soliya Connect program?
Well, I mean, over time, really, there's like sort of two pieces of it. There's how we approach the programming and how the programming itself grew. And I'll speak a little to how we approach the programming. And it's very much about looking at what the focus is, what's really important. When we began in 2003, there was a lot of bias in the media, a lot of misunderstandings around how media interacted with the public and how people gained information. So you'll remember in the early days, one of our projects for students to engage in was the video project, where we gave them a ton of raw footage. We had a partnership with Al Jazeera and AP, and we gave students a bunch of raw footage, and we said, put together a news clip, and think about bias, think about objective framing and that sort of thing. And that was really important then in terms of giving students those critical skills, helping them be more analytical and more critical of the media that they're consuming. And strangely, that's one of the things that's evolved, but not really changed. Now we have the opposite problem, right? We have so many different media outlets, so many different sources of information, and we find ourselves in a space where there's a lot of confirmation bias. Students, young people, older people tend to, focus towards beliefs that they already have. And a lot of our work has become about engaging with differences in a constructive way, such that you are going to explore those differences. You're critical about the information that you're getting, and you think about, well, what is the bias here? What are the underlying values? And what am I really hearing? And seek out differences.
I think you're talking here about a very important principle, which is media literacy. And that is really, really the bottom line here. At an age where now you see kids as young as 2 and 3 years old holding their own tablets and their own, sometimes even iPads. I'm like, oh my God. Teaching our young people the skills of media literacy, how to be able to tell fake news from real news, from, propaganda, from lies, from factual information, how to be able to deal with this tool of technology in an effective and productive way to sort out, the facts from the fiction and all of that stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about how Soliya, as a program, the International Connect Program, helps our youth to be able to develop these media literacy skills?
Absolutely. And this is done over the course of the dialogue. Of course, we have facilitators that we train to lead the dialogue, and their role is very much to help students dig deeper and question what they know or what they think they know. One of the first things we do in the Connect program when students begin is look at their own identities. We ask them to sort of deconstruct their identities and think about what is the framework and the lens with which they're seeing the world. So then the first thing they do is with their group, they start looking at how am I seeing the world and how does the information that I get play into my own biases? What are the things that I grew up with that inform how I look at the world? So that sort of introspection, the self-awareness is a really critical part of the work that we do. And then as the program develops, they're engaged in this dialogue with their peers, talking about issues that are important to them, whether it's the environment or poverty or international relations around the world and the different things that we're seeing. And in the course of this, our facilitators are continually asking students to look at where they're coming from. To give a really silly example, it's not really just saying, oh, I like the color blue, but it's very much about thinking about why you like the color blue. Why is it that you've developed this preference? Why does somebody else like the color red? What information has informed them? And so again, forcing people to kind of look at the information that they're getting and parse it out.
I also think it's very much about understanding yourself, right, as a way and a bridge to understanding others. And I recall here a very interesting moment when I had one of the students participating in Soliya from the University of Maryland in one of my classes. She was from a Jewish background, and she came to me and said, listen, I'm not a practicing Jew. Now I have to learn about my religion because the group members in Soliya are always asking me questions about my faith, and I don't always have the answers ready. So now I have to educate myself about my own religion so that I'm able to better answer the questions next time in the next session. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is big, because it's not just about understanding others. It's first and primarily about understanding yourself, correct?
Absolutely. And that's, if you can indulge me in a story for a second, that's one of the things that personally really drew me. I find the Connect program and the experience students go through to be so transformative. One of the things that happened in the fall semester, there was a group of students, and there was, recently there was the Turkish incursion and whatnot, and this was just at the beginning, say in October, when this happened, and our groups were running at the same time. There was 2 students in the group. There's a Kurdish student from Iraq, and there was a Turkish student who was participating with us. And in one of their first discussions, the Kurdish student was talking about the impact of the Turkish incursion and how she felt about it. And our Turkish student was extremely quiet. She didn't say anything. And afterwards, I got an email from her and her professor, and they were really upset. And she's like, I felt so attacked. I felt like my identity was being threatened. And, they were insulting me and my culture and my country. And it was a huge sort of moment, for her. And she felt so upset by it. And we, of course, spoke to the facilitator and explained. And in the next week, what the facilitator did was engage them again and say, if you were really upset by this, can you tell us a little about why you felt upset? And the Turkish student was able to speak to why she felt insulted. And they had this incredible moment of dialogue, this Turkish student and this Kurdish student from Iraq, where they realized that it was just, no one was insulting anyone. And, it was really just how you frame things, how you say things. And then the Turkish student came back to me later, and she was telling me about how this felt like, she really got to understand this different perspective, and how she felt like, in the beginning she felt attacked, but then she realized this person was just expressing their emotions, and it enables everyone else in the group to be a little more honest about the kinds of feelings that arise in them when they feel attacked. And so it's such a transformative experience, and it holds such a close, such a near place in my heart.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the word transformative, and I think indeed that matches the experiences, the feedback I get from my students, whether at the University of Qatar or University of Maryland. They describe it as such, like it transformed their lives in so many different ways. I particularly want to focus on the word friendship. At the beginning of the Soliya session, there's always this feeling of like, oh my God, I'm talking to strangers. Do they even understand me? Oh, they're asking me weird questions. Why are they always asking about, things related to family or related to religion? That is not appropriate maybe in my culture. So I feel that the Soliya program starts with what is called icebreaking activities. Tell us a little bit about the importance of these icebreakers or icebreaking activities and how they help to bring these students together and closer to each other.
Absolutely. A lot of our work, again, is empathy building. And so creating those relationships, allowing students to discover one another in very personal ways, to explore who they are and why they think the way that they do, that naturally leads itself to a point where young people are able to talk about their own very personal, deep experiences. One of the activities we do is called Life Stories. And in that activity, again, it's very much about relationship building. We ask students to think about the 3 most important influences that have shaped the way that they see the world. And that really enables students. Again, we do this halfway through the program when they've built that comfort with each other. And we do other activities that also help students really think about, using, again, the mix of technology and conflict resolution skills and conflict resolution tools. We do an activity called what in the world? And it's a super simple activity that asks students to do a little drawing, and then ask them to think about, like, what are the biases that they came in with when they were doing the drawing. And it's a funny moment, and it allows people to sort of bond a little over the silliness of the activity, but it's grounded in conflict resolution theory around active listening and, the inner voice and bias. And so we always try to keep that a very important part of it. And our alumni consistently tell us that that's one of the most important things they get out of the program. And after the program, they visit each other and they send us pictures and stuff like that. It's such an important part, really, the friendship and the relationships built.
And it's amazing how friendships and relationships really build out of this experience. I've had students who have, built long-term friendships and long relationships of friendship and solidarity with people from different parts of the world through the Soliya Connect program, which I believe is awesome. And I think here the role of moderators and facilitators is very important, Nahid, because obviously, icebreaker activities, being able to have empathy, understanding the other, bridging some of these gaps is not an easy task. Can you let us know a little bit about the role of the moderators and facilitators in this process, please?
Absolutely. They are so critical. In the story I was telling you about the Kurdish student and the Turkish student, they wouldn't have come to this place of transformation and understanding if it wasn't for the work of the facilitator in bringing forward these different biases, pointing it out, and pushing them a little further. So our facilitators are this amazing, wonderful community of over hundreds of young adults in the field of conflict resolution and media in other fields who are just really interested in doing this kind of work and having this kind of impact. A lot of them are alumni of the Connect program who then take our facilitation training program to become facilitators. And the role of the facilitator is that of being a process leader. So their role, they are multi-partial, they are neutral, and they engage around the process. So they're very focused on enabling students to create a safe space for dialogue, enabling students to dig deeper, and pushing the conversation forward. They don't engage in the content. You know, they don't inform. They're not instructors. They're not teachers. They don't say, this is the way you should think. Their job is to create that space and then enable student ownership. And that's a really important part of our model as well. The most successful facilitator is the one who can sort of, by the end of the program, melt into the shadows, and the students are having this dialogue on their own. But of course, their role is critical in sort of setting up the dialogue, setting those skills, helping students start thinking about how to ask good questions, start thinking about where did this thing that they said come from, explore their triggers so that if someone feels very offended or very upset by something, the facilitator can pull them back into the dialogue and say, okay, it seems like you're really upset. Let's talk about why. So that's their role, being process leaders.
Mm-hmm. To facilitate the process, as the name facilitator implies, to facilitate the process rather than to dictate it. And I must say that some of the outstanding students then get nominated or selected to become facilitators and moderators in the future, correct?
Absolutely. And that's such an important part. Of course, the Connect program works with students in building these skills through the dialogue. A lot of our students then say, we want to continue this experience, and they go on to become facilitators. They take very intensive training to become facilitators. A lot of them change their professions and their future professions, what they want to do in the world. A lot of them continue doing this along with everything else that they're doing. And those skills, they get to continue that experience through the training.
Fantastic. We'll come back to this excellent discussion right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, please.
If halal is important to your family, you can trust that Miramar will offer not only the highest quality halal products, but the best tasting and healthiest foods that can be placed on your family table with confidence. Miramar is the first and oldest halal certified food brand in America, serving the Arab and Muslim community, and offers a wide range of halal food products. Check out Miramar's halal food selection today by visiting Miramar's exclusive distributor, Ziyad Brothers Importing at www.ziyad.com.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
مرحبا سعيد.
اهلا علا.
ليش هالمقابله الفاتره هي؟ بيقول المثل لاقيني ولا تغديني.
يمه زعلتي، شنو رايك اذا لقيتك وايضا غديتك باحسن مطاعم ميشيغان، مطعم عشتار؟
والله فكره، افضل الاطباق والمقبلات العربيه والعراقيه واحلى ملقا.
ولا تنسين اللحوم الطازجه مباشره من ملحمه عشتار لزباين عشتار، وملحمه عشتار توفر اختيارات متنوعه من كافه انواع اللحوم وباسعار متميزه وجوده ايضا مميزه. ملحمة عشتار تقع على 36865 راين رود في مدينة ستيرلينغ هايت.
وأكيد أحلى لمة وأطيب لقمة في مطعم عشتار اللي عنوانه 3625 15 مايل رود في مدينة ستيرلينغ هايت. هاتف 586-698-2585 586-698-2585.
يلا علا،
يلا عشتار للجودة وكرم الضيافة عنوان.
مطعم عشتار.
Worldwide Aid and Development provides humanitarian aid in several countries, especially in areas inside Yemen, Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, in addition to others in Africa and around the world. Rahma Worldwide provides food baskets, container shipment, medical supplies, mental health care, education, orphan sponsorship, soup kitchens, and more. Go to rahmarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any amount donated to Rahma Worldwide will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Join me on the third Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be discussing some of the most important current political, economic, and social issues in my program, The Bridge. On Radio Baladi, on America's Voice of the Arabs, WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis, and we're talking today about the Soliya Connect Program, building bridges through connecting cultures. And my guest is Ms. Ahmed, the director of the Soliya Connect Program. Nahid, I wanted to talk about some of the milestones in the Soliya Connect program's journey, how it expanded, how it grew. I remember at the very beginning of my participation 15 years ago or more, it was just between Middle Eastern countries and the United States. Now I believe it's gone global, it's all over the world. I want to just give our listeners an idea about the expansion of the program, how many countries participate now, the size of the program, and the most important milestones, please.
Absolutely. So when we began the program in 2003, the very first iteration of the program, I think, had like 50 or 60 students. And now we have 16,000 alumni around the world. And I'm so proud to speak of how we
Wow, can you tell us this number again, please?
Sure, yeah. 16,000 alumni. The Connect program has connected directly 16,000 young people.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And now across, while I'm there for a moment, when we're talking about numbers, 35 countries. We operate in 35 countries. We have more than 250 institutional partners. And even within the U.S., we have a lot of diversity. We work with 30 states out of 50 states of the U.S. So, to answer your question again, when we originally began the Connect program, the focus was very much on that post 9/11 world, the U.S. Arab or so U.S. Middle Eastern relations. And over time, we looked at the evolution of this dynamic and the way history was moving post 9/11 and expanded the scope of the program to include West Muslim world issues. So, you see how Western Europe is engaged in the dynamic, what role North Africa plays. And so we include them in the dialogue. And as we did that, we expanded the program to include Europe, North Africa, South and Southeast Asia. And then, again, sort of responding to the needs that we were seeing in the world, the needs of our constituents, trying to expand the demographics and the reach of the Connect program. We broadened the framework to focus the dialogue on global challenges and enabling students to explore that in a meaningful way. And now, when we first began the Connect program, we offered one module of the Connect program, one sort of iteration. And now we offer 5 different modules of the Connect program. And the idea is to enable people in these different spaces to engage in dialogue. We're trying out a new domestic program in the U.S. We're piloting that this summer that looks at American domestic issues and seeks to enable young people in the U.S. to talk to each other in a meaningful way.
That is absolutely fantastic. I have to really commend you and your team on this excellent job. Very amazing and very compelling. Every journey has certain, milestones. Some of them are achievements, like really glamorous moments, and some of them could be challenges. Let's start with the achievements first. Like, what were some of the highlights, really the highlights of this experience? The moments when you felt like, oh my God, I'm so proud. This is a moment of achievement for the Soliya Connect program. Let's talk about these first.
Well, I think one of the key achievements was being able to expand the size of the program. You well know when we started working with you, for example, 15 years ago, the Connect program could only host say, 200 students at most, right? That was the size of the programming. Now, just this last semester, we worked with over 2,000 young people. We connected, and that sort of seeing the growth of the Connect program, for me especially, felt like one of those key milestones, and felt that movement from 300 to, say, 700 to 2,000, those were huge steps for us to be able to have the same kind of impact that we had when we worked with, say, 50 students, and having that impact at the 2,000 student level. It also gives us a lot of hope in terms of what we can do in the world, what kind of change we want to see. Our mission is to, have everyone in the world, all the young people in the world, have this kind of transformative experience, and being able to grow those numbers, grow the program in that way, really enabled us to do that. And one of the things that was really important in this journey was sort of the development of the field of virtual exchange. When we started in 2003, there was no such field. There was dialogue, there was study abroad programs, but there was no this combination, and using technology to, enable people to do cross-cultural exchange. Now, over the past 5 to 7 years, there is this field of virtual exchange, and that's amazing for us because it means that there are other practitioners. There's a better understanding of what this is. We coined that term, and in coining that term, you create a definition, and that definition allows people to then engage with this theory rather than, always having to explain what it is we do. And that's been something that's personally very exciting for me because now I say virtual exchange and people know what we're talking about. In the past, if you say virtual exchange, like virtual what? And there was a lot of mistrust. So that's been amazing.
I mean, these are all glamorous, I'm sure, achievements and milestones for the Soliya program. As I said earlier, when it started, it was only Middle Eastern countries and the US, and now you have 35 countries participating. That is huge. And even 2,000 students in one semester. That is really, wow, that is huge. What about some of the bumps on the, along the road, some of the challenges, some of the obstacles, the moment when you felt like, oh my God, this is a difficult obstacle or this is a bump on the road. Can you talk about these as well, please?
Absolutely. I was just speaking to the sort of introduction and the existence of virtual exchange as a terminology. And one of the challenges for us has been, engaging with professors who are willing to try this out. You, of course, you'd mentioned this, that you felt like pioneer. You are absolutely a pioneer in this field in wanting, in the very early stages when such a thing didn't exist, this term didn't exist, being willing to try this out and, getting your students to have this kind of experience, that's been something that's been a challenge for us, in sort of convincing other people that globalized education is really important and making space in their curriculum for this kind of learning. And so over the past few years, that's been something that's changed, and it's been wonderful to see that there's more acceptance for this kind of learning, and that there's an understanding that these skills are also important, Another challenge that we face is just language. The Connect program is not taught, but like the language of the program is English. And, over the years, we've only been able to engage with young people who speak enough English, regardless of, whether they're coming from Southern Egypt or Southern, Southern America, wherever it is. We just needed young people to be able to speak a certain level of English. And that's been a challenge that sometimes hindered our ability to expand as much as we'd like to. It's, again, one of those things that we've loved seeing over time. We are now thinking about programming in different languages. So that's really exciting, but that's certainly a challenge that we've had to work with.
Getting over or overcoming some of the cultural barriers as well as the linguistic barriers. And I will add to that also sometimes even technical barriers. Like especially at the beginning of the program, like the first session, the second session, I always tell my students, like, be patient. Not everyone around the world has the same access to high-speed internet 24/7, and some people can have certain technical issues, correct?
Yeah, and that's been an amazing milestone. So we've sort of developed and evolved our platform to enable more, with people with more difficult infrastructure. But that's been really important. In 2003, not everyone had access to high-speed internet. And the other point that you mentioned was really important. Not everyone believes, you talk about dialogue and everyone's like, wait, what's dialogue? And so having to explain that, that was definitely a challenge. But now we see more and more young people with access to technology. And that's really allowed us to expand the scope of the program because young people now, whether it's, with their phones or at universities or what have you, they have more access to this technology and they're more able to engage with this process in a way that they weren't before.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is very important, overcoming the cultural, technical, gaps or bridges between these different cultures and technical issues is also very important. I think you guys are working very hard to try to definitely overcome some of these barriers. We'll come back to this very interesting discussion right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, please.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Ahmed Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Ahmed Nakash. See Dr. Ahmed Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937, 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
إلي ساعة عم بستناك مشان نروح نتغدى بالشام.
الشام؟
إيه بالشام ومو بالشام.
شلون صارت هي؟
بدل ما نروح نتغدى بالشام جابوا لنا الأكلات الشامية الطيبة لعنا لهم.
وشلون بقى؟
هذا مطعم دماس عم يعمل كل الأكلات الشامية الطيبة هو.
طيبة؟
طيبة كتير.
شرفوا نتغدى سوا بمطعم دماس.
الأكل الشامي الأصيل فقط بدماس كوزين. زوروهم على 28841 أرشد لك بفارمينغتون هيلز، ولطلباتكم اتصلوا على 248-987-4609. That's 248-987-4609. دماس كوزين and catering، جبنا لكم الشام لعندكم.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
If halal is important to your family, you can trust that Miramar will offer not only the highest quality halal products, but the best tasting and healthiest foods that can be placed on your family table with confidence. Miramar is the first and oldest halal certified food brand in America, serving the Arab and Muslim community, and offers a wide range of halal food products. Check out Miramar's halal food selection today by visiting Miramar's exclusive distributor, Ziyad Brothers Importing at www.ziyad.com.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Join me on the third Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be discussing some of the most important current political, economic, and social issues in my program, The Bridge. On Radio Baladi, on America's Voice of the Arabs, WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis, and we're talking this morning about the Soliya Connect Program, building bridges through connecting cultures. And my guest is Ms. Nahid Ahmed, the director of the Soliya Connect Program. Nahid, I want to talk about the importance of evaluation. I saw that you are responsible as the director of the program for overseeing all the different parts of the Soliya Connect Program, preparation, implementation, design, everything. But there's also one aspect which is called evaluation. And as someone who teaches public relations, I always tell my students evaluation is as important, if not more important, than all the other previous stages of designing any program or any campaign. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about the importance of this stage or this step of evaluation in the Soliya program, and how does it work?
Absolutely. And I will say a lot of, obviously, the credit goes to our founders who felt that that was an important part of the Connect program from the first, the first time we implemented the program. We have always had the evaluation process be a part of the Connect program. So our students will complete, surveys and things like that at the beginning of the program and at the end of the program, which allows us to measure the impact of the program. As you know, we also engage in research around control groups and making sure that the changes that we're seeing amongst our students are because of the Connect program rather than just, an evolving world. We actually work with, we have worked with MIT, Tax Lab, and currently we're working with the University of Pennsylvania with a wonderful neuroscientist. His name is Dr. Emile Bruno, and he's developed a lot of our tools that we use. He works on cognitive neuroscience and looking at, how exchange and connection and cross-cultural exchange changes perspectives, changes how people see each other, and he's done some incredible work in that field, and he's worked with us to develop the tools that we use. One of the tools we use to measure the impact of the program is called the self-other overlap. And what we do is essentially we ask students to express how much overlap they feel with whoever they might define as the other, right, as people different from them. And we do that at the beginning of the program and at the end of the program. And what we see is, again, that changes drastically. We see that how much overlap they feel with someone else and other communities and other societies increases after they participated in the program. And that's really important. And it's very sort of entrenched in scientific theory around the idea that when people feel greater overlap with others, they feel that those people are part of their own group. So in group versus out group. And then they feel that they feel more sympathy, they feel more empathy, they're more willing to engage with other people's perspectives if they feel that those other people are part of their own group. So that's the kind of work that we do in terms of assessing the impact of the program.
And it's very important also the pre and the post evaluation, the pre before the program and the post after the program, to be able to assess, as you said, that the impact or the change actually happened because of their involvement with the Soliya Connect program, as well as also involving the experimental group and the control group, meaning the group that participated in the program and a group that did not participate in the program, to be able to compare and contrast the differences between both groups as well. This is indeed a very scientific approach to doing a very well-structured scientific evaluation, I must say. I also want to ask you, Nahid, about the Stevens Initiative, the Aspen Institute and Stevens Initiative, and how that partnership with the Soliya Connect program has helped the Soliya Connect program to grow and develop over the years.
Oh, absolutely. The Stevens Initiative, as you might already know, enables virtual exchange, works with the field of virtual exchange and enabling virtual exchange practitioners to expand their programming and have more young people participate in virtual exchange. They've been a wonderful source of support for the Connect program and for our organization. And they've enabled more American students, more young people in the U.S. to participate in the dialogue. And that's been our engagement with them. They do incredible work in terms of growing the field as well. I mentioned that was an important thing. When we first began, there was no such thing as the field of virtual exchange. And they have done some really critical work in expanding the field of virtual exchange. And as far as the Connect program is concerned, their funding has enabled us to work with more young people in the U.S. over the course of our work with them. And, you know, they're one of the reasons we've been able to move from the number of states where we work. We now work with 30 states in the U.S., and that kind of representation is very important, because it's not just about, like, you know, meeting other people from other countries, but also meeting people from your own country that are so different. And that's something we see in the program a lot. You know, whether it's two Tunisian students discovering that they're so different from one another, or two American students realizing that their perspectives actually align better with their Tunisian peers than each other, and sort of being able to explore that as well.
Fantastic. We're running out of time, unfortunately, but I have one last question in just a few minutes. If you can just tell us, what are the future plans? What are the next steps that you are planning or hoping to take in the Soliya Connect program? Maybe if in 2 minutes you can tell us the most important future steps, please.
Absolutely. And our goal is really to sort of stay the course. Our vision is that for young people, more young people around the world, to be able to have this kind of experience, we hope to remain the gold standard in virtual exchange programming, and become more integral to higher education, become an integral component. One of the key things that I'm working on with my team is convincing more institutions of higher education to integrate the program as a required part of their field of study. And we've had wonderful success with a lot of our partners that have done so and made it sort of a part of a minor or a major, where you have to take part in a cross-cultural exchange experience, and that experience is the Connect program. And that's something we really want to do to, again, enable more young people to have this kind of transformative, meaningful international experience.
So basically, you're trying to expand the program more in terms of quantity and quality, and to reach out more young people all over the world with the message of coexistence and also conflict resolution, correct?
Absolutely. We want to work across multiple fault lines as well and expand the geographies that we work with. You know, when we began the Connect program, we worked with maybe like 5 or 6 countries. Now we work across 35 countries, and we want to deepen our engagement within those countries to expand it to more demographics and young people who don't have such opportunities, but also expand the breadth of the programming so that we bring in new partners from new countries and allow our young people to have that kind of exposure.
Absolutely. Seeing the trajectory of the Soliya Connect program over 15 years myself, I am witness to the success of the program, and it's really wonderful impact. And I wish you every success in your great journey and great contribution. Thank you so much, Nahed Ahmed, for your great work. Thank you for the Soliya Connect program, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, and thank you for being such an important part of our journey as well. We're so grateful, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to all our listeners everywhere. Thank you so much, and have a great, blessed day, blessed week. Thank you. Take care, and goodbye.